Hello, this is my review of some of the quirks of owning Moto Guzzi V85TT and also some of my regrets of filming this near where some sheep are, so they're going to be making lots of noise. If you watched and read loads of reviews like I have, you already know it's a great bike. None of these things are showstoppers. This is the third Italian bike I've owned, second Moto Guzzi. I'm probably going to call it Guzzi because I'm British. These are just some of the quirks I found during the first few hundred miles of this bike. First thing to talk about is the switchgear. In general, I'm pretty happy with it. I like the fact it's fairly simple compared to a lot of modern bikes that are festooned with switches and dials and buttons and God knows what else. These are nice and simple. But it's not perfect, of course. The indicator's very mushy, don't like that at all. It's quite hard to tell when you've cancelled it. It's just a bit mushy. A more traditional switch would be nicer in my opinion. You'll get used to it. And the indicators do self-cancel at least, so there is that. Likewise, main beam switch. I mean, it's just a bit awkward. I don't know what's wrong with a more traditional thumb switch, or sometimes the pull on, pull off works quite well. I just not a huge fan. Feels a bit flimsy as well. Heated grips, nicely integrated. 3 levels that appear on the display. I've heard some people say it's a bit, they don't like the way it works, but really you just keep pressing the button and cycle through the 3 levels. It just works basically. I like the fact it's integrated in. I don't really like the sort of, got nothing against Oxford products, but you know, the big sort of display that has to clamp onto your handlebars with buttons on it. I much prefer having this, yes, okay. I much prefer having this integrated in. Cruise control, where's cruise control on a bike been all my life? 1 button operation, very simple to use. Again, I've heard some people take issue with it, but really you can step up and down, you can set it, you can cancel it, you can resume. It has all the functions that you'd expect on cruise control. In the manual, there's loads of complicated rules about what speeds and gears it'll work at, but in practice it just works basically. Press the button, long press to enable it, short press to set it, and you go from there. It just works really well. It does have a big flashy light on the display when it's engaged, but not active, which is a bit annoying, but again, you just get used to that. I did think there was a fault with it initially. I was playing around with the standing up to work out what was going on with the screen. More of that in a minute. And every now and again the cruise control would cut out. I was thinking, oh, there's a bloody fault with this thing. But what I actually discovered was, as I was standing up, you can apply negative throttle beyond the stop. Like that. And that actually cancels the cruise control quite sharply as well. So I was sort of standing up, faffing about, and suddenly the bike was slowing down. So just something to be aware of. Another one of those fun quirks. Okay, let's talk about the right-hand switchgear. This side is very Italian. First off, yes, the starter button is used to change riding modes. It works pretty well, to be fair. You just keep tapping it on this model. It's a little bit better than the V7 where you had to kind of hold it down for a certain number of seconds to change the traction control. I mean, it makes perfect sense to me. Why would you use the button marked mode to change modes? You know, it's much more obvious to use the starter button. So that's the Italians for you. The main lights switches are in the most awkward to reach position. In a sort of natural riding position, I'm kind of standing at the side here. It's too high for the thumb, and I've kind of worked out just using either a finger or a thumb, but it's just, why have they put it there? Why have they put it there? Where you want it is somewhere in the middle. What's actually in the middle is the engine stop switch, hidden away on a black button. Again, very Italian. Why not just have a nice big red stop switch like a lot of bikes have, and have your lights down here where you can actually reach them? Again, you get used to it. It's just one of the fun quirks of owning Italian bikes. So let's talk a bit about the display. Unfortunately, I can't find a good angle to film this without getting loads of reflections, and I haven't got any decent camera gear, just a cheap phone, so tough. The actual TFT display is quite small by modern standards. And again, you're not really going to be able to see in this video, but there's lots of sort of Moto Guzzi graphics and dials and stuff around the edge. I'm not a huge fan of that, if I'm honest, but it's not a showstopper. And to be fair, Moto Guzzi haven't wasted the space, because when you turn it on, every idiot light that could possibly exist comes on. So they've actually used all that space around the edge of the display for all the idiot lights, and they're not visible when they're off, so it's kind of quite nice. They're sort of integrated in quite well. Again, don't know if you can be able to see, to my knowledge there's no way of resetting the service indicator, which is mildly annoying. For an owner anyway, you have to take it to a dealer and they plug in their Piaggio box of tricks. Yes, I have got it booked in for a service, so that'll be getting cleared soon, hopefully. Display's really nice actually, clear, easy to read, auto dims to a sort of a night mode. I think there's about 7 levels of brightness you can set in the settings, so that's all good. I've heard a few complaints about the gear indicator, which, like the V7, is calculated from engine and road speed, I think. So if you pull the clutch in or come to a stop, it goes blank. It's not a big issue, and I think they put a little delay in this one actually. I was noticing on the way up here. As you change gear, there's like a 1 or 2 second delay, so if you stay with the clutch in, it doesn't immediately go blank. But if you glance down before you change gear, you know what gear you're in anyway, if you need to know. So it's not really a big issue, I don't think. Talking of idiot lights, actually, this one is particularly Italian. So when your lights are off, this little light comes on to tell you your lights are off. And when you turn your lights on, that goes out. So, that makes sense. Maybe all modern bikes do that, but it just made me laugh. Just going back to the display, I did notice this sticker on the screen. I don't know if it's just the big screen that has this, basically saying if you park the bike with the sun behind it, everything will burst into flames. Well, that's the gist anyway. So thanks for that, Moto Guzzi. It's a good job sun never moves around the sky, really, doesn't it? Luckily, I live in Wales, where the sunshine is of the liquid variety, so chances of that happening are pretty low. Okay, a few things about general use and riding. I have noticed, quite weirdly, your right boot gets very dirty. The left boot is actually protected by the exhaust, so that's just something I noticed riding in the rain. Left side boot's protected by the exhaust. There are some aftermarket huggers available now. I may look at fitting one, perhaps in the autumn, or we'll see. I'll probably wait for Hippo Drones to do a video and see how much of a hash he makes of it. Only joking. Another fun quirk is if you like riding on the balls of your feet, you do find that the right boot hits the pillion footrest hanger. Likewise on the left side, similar issue with the hanger, but also you can catch your boot on the side stand extension if you're not paying attention. Again, that's there, I suspect, as an afterthought to stop you burning your boots on the exhaust. Okay, let's talk about the screen. Now, the travel model comes with the largest screen as standard. It's pretty clear to me that Mario is 5'2" and Luigi is 6'5". And they must have test ridden this bike and thought, the screen, she is perfect. However, at 5'9", I don't need to look at the speedo when I hit 60 miles an hour, as basically I start getting smacked in the head by the wind buffeting. There is some adjustment on the screen. You can see that there's an Allen key in there. I've pushed it all the way forwards, but it didn't really make any difference. And you can't really do it on the move with the use of an Allen key, though I think I've seen for sale some thumb wheels, so you could replace that bolt with an actual turn wheel that you could adjust while you're out and about more easily. As you can see, I fitted one of these hideous bolt-on spoiler things. I hate the look of them, but to be fair, it works. For me, this works. It just brings the airflow up above the top of my helmet. There is some adjustment you can fiddle with. These are all pretty much of a muchness. You can spend a lot of money on the branded ones. This was something off eBay for about 20 quid. You can get them even cheaper than that. I didn't want to buy an expensive one. I just wanted to try it and see if it works. So it does work. Down the line, I might look into getting an aftermarket screen, but for the moment, this will do for now. One thing I do like, I don't know if you can see, is that I haven't had a fly squished on my visor since getting this bike. They're all hitting this screen, which is really nice. So no visor cleaning when you get back from a ride, which is really cool. I don't know how well it's going to work in the rain. If I go for a ride tomorrow, I will, that's for sure. There's a nice big bubble of calm air behind this screen now. Does that mean my visor will get water on it? Will it clear okay? Will it stay dry? I don't know. I'm just going to have to try it and find out. The travel model comes with the phone integration, nav integration as standard. It works okay. It can be a bit finicky to connect. And the Moto Guzzi app uses a cut down version of Here Maps, which is actually the old Nokia maps, if you remember that far back. Good and bad points. I mean, you can download the map, so you don't need a connection, a phone connection for it to work. But it's a really, really basic nav system. It works okay if you just have a single destination and let it sort itself out. If you're trying to put in multiple waypoints, changing between them, you can't do it on the move. You have to go into the phone and go to skip to the next waypoint. I'm sure I read somewhere that possibly some Apple phones, the mode button can do that. I don't know. The display is really nice though, the integrated nav display, and you can switch between them with the mode button. It's really nice to actually have that on board without a sat nav bolted to the handlebars or somewhere else. Having said that though, if you're going to do any sort of route planning, any sort of dedicated sat nav will be much, much better than this system. I think it's nice to have, but I also think it's way overpriced for what you get, in my opinion. I don't think I would personally pay to have it fitted. I would just bolt sat nav somewhere. But as it's on the bike, it's nice to use for sort of one-stop trips and short things. Maybe they'll improve the app over time, I don't know. Also, you only get 3 years access to the maps with no explanation of what that might cost later. Sounds a bit like built-in obsolescence to me, which I really don't like, especially as the original Here Maps was free. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with the built-in nav. I hope it doesn't all become obsolete. What would be really nice is if you could hook it into other apps, Google Maps, Waze, any of the sort of navigation apps, and have those send the instructions to the screen. Hopefully a geek out there somewhere will work that out one day. Much like the V7, I've found this bike is much happier if you just give it a minute or two to warm up before riding off. It's really quite fluffy if you ride quite quickly after starting it. I mean, it's good advice for any bike, to be honest. But I've certainly found with these air-cooled modern Guzzi engines that just giving it a minute or two, put your helmet and gloves on, let it tick over, and then it's much, much happier pulling away, and if you're going up any nearby hills or anything. So once it's warmed up, it's absolutely fine, of course. There's also quite a lot of engine braking, especially in lower gears. This can be quite choppy. Again, just something to get used to, being a bit more careful with those down changes. Other quirks. This is a 2020 model, so tubed tyres. I know they've changed that for 2021. I'm not a fan of tube tyres on road bikes, but it didn't stop me buying this one. It does worry me slightly. I've put bike seal in the tube. Whether that will help in the event of a puncture, I don't know. It doesn't seem to affect wheel balance, which is good. I'd really like tubeless wheels, but we'll see how it goes. When I come to change these tyres, if the 2021 wheels are more available, I might look into changing them. But if it's been fine, I might just leave them as they are. Just something to be aware of, really. I'm not a huge fan of spoked wheels either, but here we are. One last thing, the owner's manual that comes with the bike is the typical brick with 57 different languages in it. And again, very Italian. It refers to things like look up at the advanced settings page, and there is no advanced settings page. Basically, just download the manual and you'll get the latest version with all the actual correct pages in it. Also, things like tyre pressures are hidden away. They're not on the page that tells you that you should check them or how to check them. They're somewhere else entirely. So at least if you download the manual, you can search and find whichever bit of information you need. Okay, well, I've talked for long enough, so thanks for your time. I won't bother asking you to like and subscribe because I've got 27 subscribers. I know you only found this video while searching out information on the excellent V85TT. However, if for some strange reason you did like this video, I could do some more on things like the shad pin system tank bag, shad top box fitment, and the engine bar fitting, all of which I have opinions on because all of them ended up being a bit of a pain, if I'm honest. Hey, maybe Hippodrones is right.